So out of all the Arrowverse shows, The Flash is the one that has changed the least since its beginning. The cast is still almost the exact same as Season 1. The general setup of the show is identical. If you came straight from the Season 1 premiere to the Season 5 final, you wouldn't realise 5 years had passed due to how similar everything is. But the Season 5 final gave us one of the biggest shake-ups we've had in a while. Barry and Iris have lost their daughter, meaning that in Season 6 they may be in their darkest place yet. Cisco is seemingly left, meaning one of the original 3 Starlabs fam is gone. It just seems like all of our current main characters will be having a very interesting story to tell when Season 6 starts off. And for that reason alone, I need to give the end of this season props for making me excited and invested in the next season already. So one good thing about this season was the return of Eobard Thawne. I always get so excited when he returns, and every time Tom Cavanagh shows up as him, I'm like, oh my god, they got him back. Completely forgetting that Tom is a series regular for every season of this show. He's been on this show since episode 1, and he's been in it, I think, every episode since. So all he has to do when he comes back is look evil and do a sinister whisper, and he is Eobard Thawne. But that's got to be a testament to how amazing Tom is, and how he's one of the greatest actors across all of these shows. He's just amazing. The fact that every time he comes back as a new character, I have to remember that it's still Tom Cavanagh. There was far too little of him this season as Thawne, unfortunately. He spent almost all of the episodes inside Iron Heights prison, and he was relegated to a quick beginning and ending scene of some episodes, if even that. The end of this season implies he'll be back for real next season, but I really hope they don't try and trick us and they actually have him appear in full form. If you come into this season expecting Reverse Flash shenanigans, you're going to be sorely disappointed, because the final is pretty much the only time he is the Reverse Flash. Tom was also back on Team Flash this year as a new version of Wells called Sherlock. This was an interesting take on the character because he wasn't just there for comic relief like HR was in Season 3, and he wasn't a serious character either like Harry in Season 2 and 4. Sherlock kind of was in the middle of not being too serious and not only being a joke. He was competent and it was clear he was smart and knew what he was doing. I enjoyed him, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't getting a little tired of a new Wells every season. I love Tom, but I would really enjoy if in Season 6 he was just Eobard Thawne and Team Flash didn't have a Wells on their team. Seasons 3 to 5 have quite frankly been a chore to watch for a lot of people, and with the knowledge we have a new showrunner next season, I think a massive shake-up would be the best thing for this show, like with Cisco leaving, maybe not having a Wells on the team, just little things like that to really make the new season feel different. Another new character we got introduced to, or I guess properly introduced to, since she had 3 appearances in Season 4, is Jessica Parker Kennedy as Nora Allen, who is Barry and Iris' daughter from the 2040s. Now I just want to preface this by saying I love the actress. I love her as Max in Black Sails, and in her brief appearances on Smallville as Plastique, she was great as well. So it pains me to say that I freaking hated her character in this. I think Nora Allen is my least favourite character in the entirety of the Arrowverse. Her entire arc for the first 15 episodes is that she keeps failing and putting people's lives in danger, and she never seems to learn from her mistakes, but we're still supposed to believe that she's the protagonist of, I guess, this season, that she's the good person. I never bought her fall from grace or her fall to the dark side because she always seemed so incompetent and childish. I wouldn't be surprised to learn that she was a 12-year-old in the body of a 20-year-old because of how she was written. If you got to see more of her relationship with Thawne and how Thawne really meant a lot to her, and just more of her past in general, things could have been a whole lot better, but all we got was one episode that wasn't even that great to kind of delve into her backstory. If the writing didn't make her out to be such a child, I think the whole season could have been a lot better. One thing they did nail, though, was making her seem like Barry and Iris' daughter. She really did seem like she came from them. Speaking of Barry, I personally think he wasn't given an awful lot to do this season. I don't really think he had a main story, and all of his arcs this season just stemmed or linked into Nora or one of the other characters. He didn't have anything to make his own, and while Grant Gustin did a fine job, I just kind of think he blended in with the rest of Team Flash, and he didn't have much to grasp onto. I'm hoping the reason he was put in the back burner this season is so that they can focus on his character for at least Season 6, and because of how close we are to Crisis. Ralph's another member of Team Flash that was kind of put to the side. He was mainly used for comic relief for most of the season, and when he was actually doing stuff, it was as a supporting character for Cisco or Caitlin's story. Again, I'm a little optimistic that this is due to the fact that the writers are planning something for him big next season. The final this year seemed to imply Ralph was back as a detective and is and is on his way to find his true love, which is Sue Dearborn from the comics, or Sue Dibney from the comics. I really hope that all of this is true because Ralph has been one of the best new characters that this show has had, or just these shows in general has had. My only complaint for him is that they've been writing him as a less asshole-ish version of Plastic Man, but I'm hoping with him being back in the detective path, that'll change. The original news coming out about this season back at Comic-Con last year was that this season was going to be split into parts or pods or arcs, kind of like how Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does things. And I was happy about this. S.H.I.E.L.D. handles this great, and it's a smart way to handle 22 episode seasons because it keeps there from being too much filler and it lets them kind of shake up and not have the entire season feel the exact same. Unfortunately, Flash's way of handling this was by having two villains who are different people under the mask but wear the same costume, which was Cicada. And thus, that is the biggest problem and hole that this season had. Cicada, who is in my opinion the worst villain in the Arrowverse ever. Both Orlin and Grace were terribly written. In no way sympathetic, it was never clear why they were doing what they were doing. Their powers were never defined, and for some reason they could just jump away from every fight. They were unfortunately filler villains to give us a reason why Reverse Flash escapes prison. And if Season 6 uses Eobard as a villain, then yeah, this will be pretty forgivable. If he's not, then Season 5 is going to remain at the bottom of my Arrowverse barrel. The only other characters I get to talk about are Caitlin and Cisco and Iris and Joe. Due to Joe's actor being unwell for a good portion of this season, there's not a lot to say about him because he wasn't really in it, and when he was, it was kind of just one scene an episode-ish. But I'm excited to see where he goes in Season 6 with him being captain of CCPD now. Iris was pretty enjoyable this season, and she was actually given a decent bit. She learns how hard her and Nora's life is in the future, and she has to deal with all that. Cisco and Caitlin also had some pretty decent story, and I enjoyed both of their arcs. It seems Carlos Valdez is done for the time being, so I'm happy with how his story ended. With him getting a happy ending and all that, it's a nice change to just having the character die. Caitlin also seems to be stepping into a full-on hero story next year as she has a full-on superhero suit now, so that'll be interesting. But overall, this was one of the most problematic and convoluted seasons that Flash has had, and it's the one that I won't be itching to rewatch anytime soon, if ever. While there were sparkles of greatness, I think The Flash really needs a shake-up, or else it'll become one of the worst DC TV shows of all time, or at least from Season 3 to 5 it will. This season is a 3.5 out of 10 for me, and it's so sad to see what this show has become. But that's my review and just my thoughts on The Flash Season 5. So what do you think? Did you really enjoy it? Did you not? Did you hate it? But thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.